Today's daf is Daf Ayin Tes and Sanhedrin, as we learned for Achenukol basis Rav Sunnah Masar V'Shivya. Let's quickly review the Mishnah that we saw yesterday at the bottom of Ayin Ches. If you intended to kill an animal, which there's no punishment for that, unless it belonged to somebody, you'd have to pay for him, or you were going to kill a goy and by mistake you killed a Jew, or in a fall market of Ben's you were going to kill a baby that was not viable, and you killed a regular person, you're potter because you didn't have kavana to kill a Jew. That's the only. He said you have to have two kavanas. One, you have to have a kavana to kill a Jew, and you have to have the power to kill a Jew. And it's got to be a death blow. This Now here we go about the blows. Let's say you were planning on hitting him on his thigh, and that would have just been a strike. It wouldn't have killed him. It wasn't enough there. And by mistake you hit him in the chest, and there was enough there on the chest. There was enough. The strike was enough to kill him. Again, potter. Why? Because you didn't have an intention. You had an intention to hit him, but you didn't have intention to kill. You didn't have intention to kill. So you have to. Here there was a death blow, but you didn't have intention. Let's say you planned on hitting him in the heart. Why? Because you had enough power there. If you would have hit him on the chest to kill him, but it went on his thighs, and the blow was not enough to kill him, but he died anyway, then you're potter because you assume it wasn't because of your strike that killed him. So again, you have to have two kavanas. One, that you have kavanah to kill, and number two, that it has to be a death blow. I had kavanah to kill him, but I didn't really hit him that well. I just touched him, or I hit him on his thigh, and that killed him. Now I'm potter. He was planning on hitting an adult, and that wouldn't have killed him. But by mistake, and then he hit a child by mistake, and that killed him. So here he had a death blow, right? But he didn't have he had a death blow. He had intention to strike a gadol, and what? And had he struck the gadol, that wouldn't have been enough to kill him. So he didn't have intention for a death. He didn't have intention to kill. But by mistake, he did have a death blow on the child. And the child, there wasn't enough to kill him. Again, potter. Why? Because he didn't have intention to kill. He didn't have intention to strike a death blow. He struck a death blow only because he hit the child instead of the adult. But he didn't have intention both to kill and the death blow. He had a death blow, but he didn't have intention to kill him because he was intending on hitting an adult on the thigh. Let's say he had intention to hit a child, and that would have killed him. And it went on a gadol, and instead he struck the adult. And he didn't have enough. Now it wasn't a death blow. Mace potter. All these cases you're potter because you didn't have two things. You have to have a kavanah to kill, and it has to be a death blow. In this case, he had kavanah to kill, but he didn't do a death blow because the death blow went on a gadol, and the guy died. It wasn't because of the blow, because he must have been sick or something else happened. Okay, niskav avol. Let's say he was planning on hitting him on his thigh. There was enough to kill him there. Hit him on his chest. Why? Because here he had intention for a death blow, even though he hit him in a different spot. He was planning on hitting him in the thigh. By mistake, he hit him in the chest. But either way, he had intention to kill, and he had a death blow. You're chayav. Let's say he was planning on killing an adult, and he had enough there. And again, meis chayav, even though it went on a different person. Then on a different person. Why? Because he had intention to kill, and he struck a death blow. So here you see these last words say that if he had intention to kill one and he killed another person, you're chayiv. Rav Shimon Omer, Rav Shimon says you're not chayiv unless you intended to kill this person on this person. Now, is Rav Shimon going on the last case? Says the Gemara, Rav Shimon Ahai. Which case is he going on? If he's going on the Seifa, what do you mean the Seifa? Where the Tanakama said if you intended to kill Reuven and you killed Shimon instead, you're potter, right? Not a good example, Reuven and Shimon, because here we have Rebbe Shimon, right? But we understand. If I wanted to kill Reuven, I killed Shimon. According to the Tanakama, you're chayav because you had intention to kill and you struck a death blow. So, that's what the Tanakama said. And is Rav Shimon going in that case? Rav Shimon so Rav Shimon potter me boy. They should have just said you're potter. Let's talk about the last case, right? You had intended to strike an adult to kill him, and by mistake you hit a cotton, and that killed him. but you didn't have kavana you had kavana to kill, and you struck a death blow, but you hit the wrong person. Tanakama says you're chayav, Reb Shimon says you're potter. Then it should just say Reb Shimon potter. Why does it say Reb Shimon Omer? I feel it's kavan lo gazev potter. Just say potter, because the last case what was the last case? I had intention to kill an adult, and I struck a death blow, but it hit a child instead. I'm chayav. Okay. So Reb Shimon just say, Reb Shimon says you're potter in this case. Why does Reb Shimon potter me, boy? Ella Reisha. Shimon's going on the Reisha. It's kavan lo gazev adam. If what you intended to kill an animal, you killed a person. Love is Israel. Not a farm margus, but come at the case that we just said in the beginning of the Mishnah. Potter, Hanaskavan. So you're potter there. Hanaskavan Lorgazev, Horagazev. But if you intended to kill Reuven and intended to kill Shimon, you're chayav. Shimon Amar Fil Naskavan Lorgazev, Horagazev, you potter. Eat pot. In other words, the reason Rab Shimon is so verbose in the last line of the Mishnah because he's not just going on the last case. Even if it wasn't just a gadol and a cotton. Even if it was, it's mash from the Mishnah. You're going to strike a guy, you struck a Jew, or you're going to strike an animal, you struck a person, or a non-viable child, and you struck a viable person. You're potter this mashma that if you had kavanah to kill Reuven and instead you killed Shimon, you're chayiv. Comes along Shimon say, no, you're potter. So like I said, so that's the machlokes Tanakam Shimon. Here we pass like a Shimon that if you didn't have intention to kill this person, you're potter. Pshita, obviously potter velosa. Pshita, quite Reuven Shimon. Shimon are both here. Two people are here, Reuven and Shimon. Bamar, and now the murderer, we'll call him the murderer, said, I killed Shimon, my kavanah was for Reuven. I didn't have intention to kill Shimon, I killed Shimon by mistake. That's the machlokas. The Tanakama says you're chayiv, because you had intention to kill a person, a Jew, and you did indeed kill a person, you had intention to kill, and you struck a death blow. That's the machlokas. Reb Shimon says, no, I had kavana for one, let's say person one, and I hit person two. Shimon says, you're potter in that case. Tanakam says, you're chayiv. What happens if he said, I had kavana for one of them? I don't know. But I didn't care. I wanted to kill one of those two guys. I didn't care which one. Right? What's the halacha there? Or he says, listen, I thought it was Reuven. I thought I was killing Reuven. It turns out it was Shimon. I had kavana for this guy, but I thought it was Reuven. I wanted to kill Reuven. I thought this guy was Reuven. It turns out it was Shimon. What do you say there? Tashma, would Shimon, now certainly, the Tanakhama would certainly say you're chayiv, because he says, even if you had intention for one and you killed another guy, a different guy, you're still chayiv, because you had intention to kill and you struck a death blow. What would Reb Shimon say? Tashma, the time Reb Shimon, Omer, Achi Omer, Leploni, Ani Meschaven. He's not chayiv until you warned him and you said, you're about to kill Yankel. And yes, I know I'm about to kill him, and you killed Yankel, until he says that, and as if he didn't say, I had kavana for this guy, if he had kavana for a different guy, you're potter in all cases. Even if he said, I had kavana for one of them, or I thought it was Reuven, it turned out it was Shimon. No, you have to say, I had kavana for this guy. Meaning, if he was warned, he's warned for this guy, then you'd be chayiv. Obviously, we're talking about potter and chayiv misa, or b'shogi go into Golus. Okay. My time, Rav Shimon. What's Rav Shimon's reason? The pasuk says, "V'arav lo v'kamalav." Pasuk says, if two people are fighting, and one guy lied in ambush, waited in ambush for Kama and rose up against him, because those words are extra. Rashi says it didn't have to say those words. Rashi says, just say if one guy hates another guy, when he rose up against him. What's that lashon? V'arav lo, and he lied in wait. He ambushed him. Him. You have to come on from. That's Reb Shimon's shita, and we pass like Reb Shimon. Rabbanan, what do the Rabbanan do with that word? Amri debei Rav Yana, Rav Yana explained Rabbanan, Pardlazork Even Legav. This excludes, in other words, Rabbanan say, if you had kavanah for one guy and you killed another guy, you're chayiv, right? As long as you had intention to kill and you had a death blow. What do they say? V'arav lo, Pardlazork Even Legav. Kavanah for this guy, as opposed to what? If you threw a rock into a bunch of people, Goyim and Jews together, and you killed somebody, you're not chayiv. Now, what's the case? It says, what do you mean you're potter in that case? Again, because the Rabbanan say, if there were two Jews staying there, and I was trying to shoot one, and by mistake I killed the other one, I'm chayiv. So what do you mean, the Arav law, what is the Arav law intention for him? Excluding a case of where I threw a rock into a bunch of people, Goyim and Jews. Actually, then what's the case? If there was 9 Goyim, let's say, and 1 Jew, same would be with 2 and 1. If it was a majority of Goyim, so of course, typically, you're not chayiv misa, Because it's mostly goyim. You go basarov. You couldn't direct the rock to one person. You threw the rock into a bunch of people. If they're mostly goyim, you're part of that. Inami palga, even if it's 50-50, 5 goyim, 5 Jews. Suffolk, how can you kill them? We said that the hitzilu aida, right? You have to try to save him. If it's 50-50, Suffolk Nefashos, you couldn't kill him. Here's the point. There was mostly Jews, 9 Jews and 1 Goy Beneam. See here, Michael used Lashon of Kuti for Goy. It's right. That's what you mean Beneam. The Havile Kuti Kavua v'Kol Kavua K'Mechsamach. Here's the point. The point is this. It's telling me that you have to wait for him as opposed to what? Where you threw it into a bunch of people, Goyim and Jews. If it's mostly Jews or even 50-50, of course you're potter. Why could you be chayiv? It's a Suffolk Nefashos Lakula. Must be speaking out where it's mostly Jews and there was a Goy there and you threw it into them. They are kavua. It wasn't like you took it out of called the parish miruba to parish. If it's taken from a majority, they're all kavua together. And the chiddush is that called the kavua kamechsel samidami. Since he's kavua there, since he's set there, he's in his place, he's established there. Then it's like 50-50, and that's what we mean by your potter. Ba'ar of lo, you had attention for him. But if it was a case of a goy there with other Jews, even if the Jews are the majority, it's 50-50. You can't say it's like the goyim are the majority, but you can say it's like 50-50. And so here Rashi says, 3 lines before the lines get wide. From here, this is the source. The called kavua kamechza mechza dami. Wherever if kavua is mechza mechza. What's the famous case in Psachim? Famous case is that if I walk in the marketplace, right, and I find a piece of meat in the street, and there are nine kosher butchers and 1 non-kosher butcher. I find it in the street. You assume it goes from the rabbi. You assume it's kosher. Now, most Jews wouldn't eat it unless it's Reuben or Badat, so it's got a plumb or something like that. But the truth is, technically, min halacha, you find a piece of meat in the street, and most of the butchers in the neighborhood are Jewish kosher butchers. You can eat it. Go basarov. However, if you walked into a store and you bought it, and you're not sure which store you want into, was it kosher Badat or was it kosher basar, you know that line, basar. It was not kosher at all. You're not sure. Called the kavua kamechza mechza dami. Even though it's 9 kosher butchers, but it's like 50-50 because you took it out of a spot. You took it out of a place that's kavua. That's the halacha. It's learned out from here, from Arav Love Kamalav. That's what the Rabbanan exclude. Again, the Rabbanan say, if I had kavana to kill Reuven, I killed Shimon, I'm chayiv. However, if I threw a rock into a bunch of people and there's 1 guy there, it's 50-50, and I'm part. According to Rabbanan, we say that if I had kavanah to kill Reuven, I killed Shimon, I'm chayiv. The chsiv, it says, pasuk says, we had this pasuk before and I down. Ki inatzu anoshim. If 2 people are fighting, and they hit a pregnant woman and she lost a child, Rav Blazer says, what kind of a quarrel are we talking about? We're talking about a quarrel to the death. They're trying to kill each other. The pasuk says, if you killed her, so we understand that. Why? 2 guys are fighting. Number 1 and number 2 were trying to kill each other. By mistake, one of them hit the lady. No intention to kill the lady, but he was intending on, number 1 was trying to kill number 2. And instead he hit the lady. If you kill the lady, you have to pay. That's how he dashes the pasuk. The Rabbanan say, 2 guys are fighting, and by mistake, one of them hit the pregnant lady. And we're talking about they were trying to kill each other. So there was an intent to kill. There was a death blow, but he killed the wrong person. You have to pay. Nasat nefesh nefesh yachayim. Elo Rab Shimon. What does Rab Shimon do with that pasuk? Rab Shimon says, if you didn't have kavanah to kill this individual, you're potter. That's what he says. Rab Shimon says, I feel in Skavan or Gazever because you're potter. Well, how does he understand the pasuk? The answer is, my overlay. Mamo. The answer is, you know what it means? Satan nefesh tachas nefesh. You are financially responsible, right? You have to pay for the value of the person. In that case, you have to pay for the lady. Ukid Rabbi Tanya Rabbi Omer and Satan nefesh tachas nefesh. Mamo. Talk about you have to pay financially. You have to pay her value. Not that you're killed. Atom or moment nefesh mamish doesn't mean literally you have to pay with your life for taking her. It says never nasin lamata. It says nasina below. What does below mean? It says nasina here in. It says v'nakvish in. This is it in Shmos. It's above v'nemer nasina lamala, and here it says lamala here. Right. So manasina lamala. The Malo is in Shmos Chaf Aleph, and this is also it's in the same area, right? Right. So it says just like in the Malo, it says V'nasan Biflilim, V'nasan Biflilim. Two guys are fighting, and you pay for it. Nasan Biflilim, V'lo Yasan V'nasan Biflilim. But the word V'nasan over there means you pay. It's a plili case. The Mevlados, you have to pay for the money, just like over there. V'nasan means you pay. Here also, when a satan nefesh doesn't say most you must, you'll be killed. It says v'nasata nefesh tachas nefesh means you pay. Just like in Sina before means flilim, you v'nasan b'flilim, you pay cash. Malol maman afkan maman. Okay, so we have machlokas here with if I intended to kill Reuven, I killed Shimon. According to the Tanakama, you're chayiv misa for that if it was Edom and Asra, and according to Reb Shimon. Since I intended on killing one person and I kill the other person, you only have to pay money. You're not chayiv misa or golas for that matter. Amar Rava, hi Tanat Bei Chizkiya. The following Tana that we're going to bring out from the school of Chizkiya, Mefka Rebbe uMefka Rabbanan. He doesn't agree with the rabbis and he doesn't agree with the Rabbanan. Meaning the Rabbanan say you're chayiv misa. Rebbe says you chayiv to pay. He disagrees with both. He says you don't pay anything. Tanat Bei Chizkiya. Pasuk says make adam umake behema. What does the pasuk say in Vayikra? Make behema yishalmena umake adam you must. That's the pasuk, right? Everybody have the pasuk there in front of them. It says one pasuk. It says make behema yishalmena umake adam you must, right? So it says like this: Ma make behema lo chalakta. Just like when it comes to an animal, if you kill somebody's animal, you got to pay. You don't ask, well, I was shogeg, I was amazed, I was asleep. Doesn't make any difference. Lo chalak the bein shogeg lemezid, whether you did it inadvertently or on purpose. Bein miskav l'shein miskav, and whether you had kavanah or not. Bein derech yiridah derech aliyah. Of course, the only time it makes a difference of aliyah is we're talking about gullus, as we'll see, right? That if you hit him on the way down with a downward action, then you're chayiv, aliyah not. But it makes no difference. By an animal makes no difference at all. Lepoter mammon el l'chayiv mammon. There is no difference. You're always chayiv money by an animal. Right, also when it comes to when you struck a person and killed a person, there is no difference how you did it in terms of being potter for money. In other words, the comparison in one pasuk between makeh behema yishamena. So this is makeh behema yishamena umakeh adam you must. What does it mean makeh adam you must? Don't pay. Makeh behema is always yishamena. You have to pay for it. Makei Adam is you must. You don't pay for it. Why is it in one pasuk? You tell me, just like by an animal, you always pay no matter the circumstances. When it comes to killing a person, when it comes to if you killed a person, you never pay. Now you never pay. Now what's the case? What do you mean you didn't have kavanah? You didn't have kavanah at all. You didn't have kavanah to kill a person. That's a shogeg. We know the halacha of a shogeg. Of course you don't pay. You go into galus. That means this. You didn't have kavanah for this person. You had kavanah for a different. Instead of killing, you were going to kill person one. You kill person two. But you're always potter from mammon. So he doesn't agree with Rebbe, who we said what Rebbe Shita is also the opinion of Reb Shimon, right? We said why does Reb Shimon say that you're not killed if your intention to kill one person, you killed another person, you're not killed? Because it goes like Rebbe says, "Satan means money," like Rebbe learned. So Rebbe says you pay. The Chacham say you are killed, and Tanat Bei Chizkiya says neither. You're neither killed nor you pay. Why? If you be chayav for death in this case, like the Rabbanan, why do you have to be pattern from mammon? If you're chayav mammon, we always know come Rabbi that you don't pay. He's not supposed to be killed. And still you don't pay. In other words, and if we're talking about a case, makei adam, you must. Right? Obviously, if you did it intentionally, you're going to be killed. But what's the comparison between makei adam and makei behema? Why by makei behema yishamena and makei adam you never pay? You never pay. If you're chayiv misa, of course you're not going to pay. Why? So what's the juxtaposition of the two phrases in one pasuk? Makei behema yishamena, makei adam you must, to teach me that even if he's not chayiv misa, you still don't have to pay. So we have three shitas. If I intended to kill Reuben, I killed Shimon. Tanakama says Yechayev Misa. According to Reb Shimon and Rebbe, you have to pay. According to Reb Chizkiya, neither. You're neither pay nor you're killed. Says the Mishnah. We have a murderer, and presumably he was sentenced to death already. That's the assumption right now, and he was mixed up with other people. In other words, what happened? You knew who he was. and now he got confused with other people. What do you do now with this guy? Kulam Pturim, says the Tanakama, they're all patur, they're all off the hook. In other words, what do you mean they're all off the hook? Why were they on the hook in the first place? If you say that if they were just people off the street, of course they're patur. The point is to say that he is patur, right? So what's this Nisar B'Cherim? Not clear yet what we mean. The Mishnah is it's not clear. No, you put them all into jail. Kippah is like a cell, it's called a kippah because it's arched, right? Like a kippah, I guess the kippah also we wear is arched. Anyway, you put them in there and you kill them. How do you kill them there? You feed them, you feed them raw barley until the stomach bursts, etc. You kill them all. So what's going on over here? They were mixed up with innocent people. What are you killing all these innocent people? And what do you mean by Chacham Yal Pater? Not clear when you say this murderer got mixed up. Who did he get mixed up with? It's very unclear. All chayve misas, they got mixed up. Now, what do we mean over here? We know there's 4 different kinds of misas bezdin, right? Skila, sreifa, hereg, and chenek, depending on how what aver you did. According to Reb Shimon, what's the order? Sreifa, skila, right? Right? Chenek and hereg, right? Because according to the Rabbana that we paskin like, it's skila, sreifa, hereg, and chenek. Okay, fine. So now let's say all these people were on death row. There's not a death row really, because you're supposed to kill them right away, but they were all put in a group there. They all got, and you got mixed up. Now you're supposed to kill them all, but you don't know how to kill them. You don't know how to kill them. Now, as we'll see later on, if a person is chai, we're going to see that the next mission, I think, that let's say a person did 2 averos. For one, he's chayiv, that's going to be on Shabbos' daf. Let's take a look, right? For one, he's chayiv skila. And for one, he's chayiv chenek. What would you give him? He did 2 averos. He committed adultery for the punishment with a married woman. Punishment is chenek, and he also blasphemed God, right? Or mechal Shabbos, chayiv skila. Which one would you give him? You have to get pardon. The more serious one. Why? The stricter one. Why? Because he needs the kapara. As we said, that's why there's 4 different kinds. You need a bigger kapara. That's why we talk about strictness. If he did 2 things, but here, guy didn't do 2 things. It was 2 different people. One was supposed to get skila, and one was supposed to get chenek. And you got mixed up. You don't know who's who. You don't know who's who. So what do? You give him the lighter one. You give them both the lighter one. Why? Because why should he suffer? Why should the guy who's supposed to get the lighter one, why should he suffer? It's not fair to treat him with a. That's what the Mishnah says over here. They got mixed up. Nidod and Bekala gets the lighter one, the more lenient one. So, for example, he says, now he gives the examples. Hanaskom bin Esrafin, if the what mixed up. Hanaskom bin Esrafin sounds like, let's say one guy was supposed to get skila, and he got mixed up with 10 guys who were supposed to get sreifa. According to Reb Shimon, what's the more stricter one? Sreifa, right? So 10 out of 11 are supposed to get sreifa. One guy's supposed to get skila. Reb Shimon Omer Dapim, got to give him all skila. It's not fair to give the guy who's supposed to get skila, give him the more stricter punishment. Shas sreifa chamura. That's more strict. Not fair. The Chum say what? That the other way around. Nidod the streifa, give him streifa. Shas skila chamura. Makes a difference how many got mixed up. This skila b'streifa sounds like niskom b'srafim that one skila got mixed up with many nisrafim. Doesn't make any difference what the orders. Give him streifa. Chum say you give him streifa. Shas skila chamura. Chaviyos chamur. So therefore, you give them all skila, even though. You give him rather. You give him all streifa because the skila is more chomer, and you can't give the guy who's only supposed to get streifa. You can't give him skila. Amal and Reb Shimon. So Reb Shimon, here we get the discussion. We had this before the machlokes Reb Shimon, but here he gives the discussion. It's more like a brisa. Reb Shimon said to Chaman, "What do you mean? I'll tell you why streifa is more chomer. If it wouldn't be more chomer, lo nit lebas kohen shezinsa. By bas kohen it says bas kohen bas ish kohen." She's desecrating her father. She's desecrating the priesthood, and that's why she's more. That's why a normal bas kohen, a normal bas Yisrael who's either married or betrothed, the punishment for adultery would be what? For married, it would be chenek. For betrothal, if she's betrothed, it would be skila. But by Bas Kohen, you say she gets sreifa. That proves that sreifa is a more chomer one because she's doing more. She's not simply committing adultery. She's also profaning, desecrating the priesthood. Eloisa, right? So Eloisa says Reb Shimon, Eloisa sreifa chamura lo nit lebas kohen shezinsa. Omulo, so they said to him, the Chacham retorted to Rav Shimon, Ilu we say skill is more chomer, skill is more stringent. If it wouldn't be that skill is more chomer, lo nitna lebagadav lo over kachavim, right? And it wouldn't be given to the megadav, to the blasphemer, and to the worship of Avodah Zarah, to the idolater, and those things are more stringent. Why, as we had before, because those people are kofar beikar. They go against the fundamental laws of Judaism. Right, so therefore the Chacham said skill is more chomer. This is just their discussion as which skills are. Now, once we know that according to Rabbanan, skill is more chomer, and according to Reb Shimon, seif is more chomer. What about when it comes to hereg and chenek? As we said before, according to Rabbanan, the order is hereg. Hereg is more chomer than chenek. So hanerogim menachnakim. Let's say one guy was supposed to get hereg, which is sayif, got mixed up with the chenek. According to Reb Shimon over b'sayif. You give him the more lenient one, because Reb Shimon says that the order is what? Chenek and hereg. So you give him hereg because that's the more lenient one. There's some people who are supposed to get hereg, some people are supposed to go chenek. So you give him hereg because hereg is the more lenient one. According to the Chacham, chenek is the more lenient one. So if you get mixed up there with chenek, obviously everybody agrees. In which case, if one guy was supposed to get chenek and the other guy was supposed to get skila or sreifa, you give him chenek, you give him the lighter one. Mana cherim. Now, what do we mean over here at the beginning of the Mishnah? Mishnah says if Rotzech got mixed up with other people, they're all potter. They're all off the hook. What do we mean by that? So mana cherim, ilay macherim, ksherim. If the other people are normal people off the street, nothing wrong with them. So if a murderer got mixed up with 10 other people who are normal people, right? Originally, you knew who the murderer was, right? You knew who the murderer was. And then he got mixed up. They all look alike, right? They all look alike. Yeah, with other people got mixed up. Of course, you can't kill them. How can you kill these innocent people? Pshita. The Sue, and in that case, how could it be B'halem Rabbi Yehuda Konsenos Lakipa? Would Rabbi Yehuda say that if one murderer got mixed up with 10 innocent people, you kill them all? You put them all in the cell and starve them all, or give them barley so that their stomach should blow up? Amra Bavu, that can't mean innocent people. Amra Bavu, Amra Shmuel, Hachabrot Shlo Nigma Dino. Here we're talking about this. The Rotzech we're talking about is a murderer. Witnesses were given against him, but his verdict was not rendered yet. They didn't have they didn't render a verdict yet on him. And here in Shinesar Bachotz Machayim Shenigma Dinan got mixed up with other 10 people. They had a holding cell for 10 murderers who were about to be killed, and this guy was in court, and he ran into that cell with the other guys, and you don't know which one's which. They all look like murderers. You know, they're all rough looking, and they're all murderers, right? And he got mixed up there. Rabbanan Sarvi ain't going to Shalatam. You cannot complete the verdict against a person only if it's in front of him. And you could say, listen, you are sentenced to death, but they can't say you because they don't know who he is. He's mixed up with other guys. There's 11 guys in there. 10 of them were sentenced to death. One has not been sentenced yet, but he's a murderer. So what do? You can't do it. You can't kill him. They're all potter. They're all off the hook. That's the way you get off the hook, right? Go mixed up with the others. Rabbi Yehuda, this is miternally. No, you can't potter them all up. They're all murderers. Low, keeping the rotzchen in it. You can't let them off the hook. Hilkach konsonos legipa. Therefore, you put them on keep you put them in jail, and they all die. So this guy really is killed, even though he didn't have a verdict yet against him. But there's evidence against him. He's a murderer, but his verdict hasn't been rendered. That's how Shmuel learns. We're talking about that he got mixed up. Who did he get mixed up with? We got mixed up with convicted murderers. That's what Rish Lakish says no. But Adam de Kuli Amalo Pligi the period. Everybody agrees that if this person has not been sentenced to death yet, right? You can't kill him. They're all putter. Everybody agrees with the Chacham. Even Rabbi Yehuda would agree that if one guy who's not been rendered a verdict, how can you kill him? You can't be. Everybody agrees that by people you can't mix them up. Avalacha b'shor, we're talking about animals b'chlal. We're talking over here rotzeach. We're not talking about people. We're talking about We're talking about animals. We're talking about a shore, an animal. Could be any animal. It could be a chicken also killed. Shalom nigmardino. The verdict of 23 is not of a court of 20 has not been rendered against him. We got mixed up with other shores. We're talking about animals. Animals is a little bit easier, right? Mixed up on Shenigmardina. They had the other animals. They were already sentenced to death. That's machlokas. Rabbanan say, why are all look? They're only animals. Well, kamisas balam kach misas shor. Right? What do we say? Right? He says, you must forgot. Right? Gamba love you must. Well, you compare Bala, the shore, to the Balam. The Engum Dishol B'fanav. Just like by a person, you cannot give him a verdict unless you can point him out in front of him, not mixed up with others, the same way with the shore. So even though these are all animals, they're bad animals, because 10 animals were sentenced to death, and this one was about to be sentenced, right? But you can't. So therefore, they're all off the hook. And as Rabbi Yehuda says, right, Hilkach Rabbi Yehuda said, no, comes from the keeper. Listen, these are all bad. It's a bad lot. So you kill the animal, big deal. That's only a shore anyway. Kill them anyway. By the way, the point over here is that what about, is it fair to the owner of the animal to kill this animal if a verdict has been rendered against him? No, because it's not unfair, because he can't have enough of them anyway. This animal got mixed up with the 10 other animals. What are you going to do? You don't know. You can't even point out your animal. You can't say, I'll take one of them. I'll take one animal. One of them is mine. Yeah, but they're all Asur. The other ones, the other 10 are Asur because they've been sentenced to death. So he says, right? That's what he says. So therefore, that's it. So how do you understand the Mishnah? The Mishnah says, right? Kulam Pturin. How do we understand this? Shmuel said, you know what it is? It's talking about he wasn't sentenced to death yet, and he got mixed up with others. The rabbis say, okay, he hasn't been sentenced to death, you can't kill him. So they're all off the hook. All these murders are off the hook. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, they're all murderers, kill them all. Okay, that's Shmuel's way to learn. Comes along Resh Lakish, he says, no, we're talking about animals. Animals are a lot easier, right? They're all off the hook. Why? Because Kmis is a baum, Kmis is shore. You can't render a verdict against the shore unless you know specifically who is. And Rabbi Yehuda says, look, they're all animals anyway, just kill them all. Amar Rava, so Rava says, if that's the case, like either one of you, like you, Shmuel, who says, well, we're talking about a Rotzeach whose verdict was not rendered yet, got mixed up with Rotzchem, whose verdict was rendered, or with the animals, we learned about this Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Afilu Abba Chalafta Beineim, even if Abba Chalafta was among them. Abba Chalafta, I mean, even though it was a tzaddik among them, you still say this. You still potter. What do you mean? What do you mean afilu? If let's say the murderer was Abba Chalafta, the one that's being judged, and you assume that he's not the murderer, so what do you mean? Even if he's there, you're still potter. What do you mean? Just the opposite. That would be a reason to potter them. If you know one of them was a tzaddik, right? If you had 10 guys who were sentenced to death, and they got mixed up with one of the rabbis, and a chashuv of rabbis, a Chafetz Chaim was there among them, right? Was mixed up with them. You can't tell who's who. Of course, you let him off the hook. The Chafetz Chaim was there. He's not a murderer. So what does he mean? Number one, it certainly doesn't go like Rish Lakish, we're talking about animals. And even like Shmuel, who says we're talking about a potential Rotzeach, his verdict got mixed up with people who were convicted already. So what does it mean? Rabbi Yossi says, "Afilu Abba Chalafta Beinein." What do you mean, even if among them? If Abba was among them, for sure you'd let them off the hook. Ela Marava, this is what it means. Shnayim shayu omdim. So we now we're sort of slugging up both Shmuel's opinion and Shlakish's opinion. Ela Amarava Hachi Kamar. Shnayim shayu omdim. Two people were standing. And there was an arrow shot between two guys were standing together. One of them shot an arrow, killed somebody. You can't tell who shot it. They're both standing there together, far away. You saw the two guys there, and it killed somebody. Shneim Peturin. They're both putter. That's what the Mishnah means. Meaning he's mixed up with somebody else, killed somebody. They shot a gun or whatever. You didn't have fingerprints on the gun or whatever it was. You couldn't tell. You saw two guys were standing together, and you saw an arrow shot between them. One of them for sure shot this arrow and killed somebody. It's not speaking where they did it together. One it was like a gun or something, or you could tell one of them threw a rock and killed Shnei Peturim. They're both putter. That says the Tanakama. V'Amar Rabbi Yossi afilu Abba Chalafta Beinein. Even if one of the two was the Chafetz Chaim, one of the two, and you're sure he didn't do it, you still can't kill the other guy. That's what it means. That's what it means that you're putter. That's what it means over here. And what does this all mean? We'll explain this more. We'll explain this more tomorrow when we get into thing, because he goes on to say, for sure. In other words, and then he goes, and what's missing? That's one case. If two guys were standing there, one guy shot the gun, shot the arrow, or shot the gun or whatever, or threw the knife, and you can't tell which one it was, they're both putter. Even if one of the two was a tzaddik and he couldn't have done it, they're both putter, because you don't know for sure. You can't see. B'shor shenig Mardino, and a shore who's sentenced to death, who got mixed up with other shvarim who are okay. He went into a pen of had animals, into a barn or whatever. Soklon son, you kill them all. Why do you kill them all? Again, here, because we said that's what Rabbi Yehuda means. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't argue and say that you can kill this guy. What do you mean? what did Rabbi Yehuda say? If one of them was a tzaddik, if one of them was the Chafetz Chaim, one of the two guys who shot the air was a tzaddik, you killed the other guy? Yeah, you know for sure that he did it. Rabbi Yehuda's arguing in a different case. Rabbi Yehuda says, right, that in a case where a shore killed somebody, and then that shore was sentenced to death, and now that shore, what does that mean? That shore you can't have enough from, it's sentenced to death, and he got mixed up with other normal animals, right, innocent animals, and you can't tell who's who. So the Chacham say you killed them all because that's the chiyuv, and the other animals you killed so bad. Rabbi Yehuda says comes on skipa, and you just put them into and you starve them. But both of them agree. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda's not really arguing with the Tanakama. The Tanakama says if two guys shot a gun or one guy shot an arrow between the two of them, you don't know who did it, right? You can't kill either one. Period. And you can't kill either one. And Rabbi Yossi says, even if one of them is a tzaddik and you assume it was the other one, no, circumstantial evidence is that doesn't do it. Just because, this guy's a tzaddik, you can't kill the other guy. In a case where an animal killed somebody and he was sentenced to death and he got mixed with somebody else, then the Tanakama says you stone them all. Or you says comes on the kippah. There's no loss to the owner anyway, what you're doing. Why? Because he can't have enough. You don't know which animal it is. So you can't have enough from his animal anyway, and therefore you killed them. Both agree there. We'll pick it up from here tomorrow, further explaining the Mishnah. Have a good day.
Good.